Welcome to the first episode of Immigration USA with Kathia Quiros. That is me, Kathia Quiros. I am an immigration attorney for more than 20 years in the United States, and I dedicate my life to teach immigrants, to teach them about immigration laws, to help them become legal members of our society, and most importantly, to keep families together. Because when we help an immigrant, we are helping a family unit to stay together, and we are helping the next generation of US citizens. So what I normally do, and I'm a big influencer in the Hispanic community. What I normally do is I come out and I tell you the news, but not from the perspective of of the fear and all just the negative side. I tell you the news from the perspective of a lawyer who happens to be also an immigrant who understands what you are going through. So hopefully you would learn a lot through this Immigration USA with Katia in English. And if you ever wanna, and if you speak Spanish, well, then you can follow me in Imigrando con Katia. So let's start. What are the news for this week? As you know, we have been going through a lot of terrible changes in the immigration arena, and so far, since President Trump started his immigration agenda, a lot of fear and a lot of chaos has happened. And some things are terribly bad, and some others are actually good for immigrants. So we are going to explore some of it. Today, I don't have very many good news. Most of my news are very dark. So let's explore them, analyze them, and see how can we protect so that we are not victims of this immigration agenda. Okay. Okay. So let's start from the beginning. One of the most serious topics that we are confronting as immigrants in the United States, it's the efforts of the Trump government to take citizenship away to kids of immigrants. So if you are born in the United States as of today, everybody that is born in U.S. soil becomes a U.S. citizen by operation of law, because the Constitution guarantees that if you're born in the United States, then you are a US citizen. President Trump issued an executive order saying, no, um, you should be only a US citizen if one of your parents is a US citizen, because in order to be a US citizen, you need to be subject to the jurisdiction of the United States. And somehow he is saying immigrants are not subject to the jurisdiction of the United States, and for that reason kids of immigrants shouldn't be US citizens. So you probably are asking yourself, what is subject to the jurisdiction? Well, that means that the government of the United States has power over this person. And he's basically saying, um, if you are not born in the United States, then we don't have power over you. However, um, as you already know, because you are seeing the news and you are seeing the videos, immigrants, undocumented immigrants, legal immigrants, everybody who is inside the United States is subject to the power of the United States. That's why they get deported. If that idea that if you are a foreigner, you are not subject to the jurisdiction or the power of the United States would be true, then nobody would be deported. So, anyways, President Trump issued an executive order, and many civil organizations and human rights organizations have filed lawsuits against this. Some of these lawsuits are moving along, and judges have already put a pause to this executive order that was supposed to start 30 days after he signed it. And it's not going to come into reality because the judges have said, hold on, we cannot let this happen until we have decided if it's legal or not. Most legal scholars, academics are saying this is not legal. What really needs to happen if this country wants to see something like that, it's that constitution has to be amended. So right now, the latest news is that after a judge said to the government that they were gonna put this executive order in pause, That government has decided to file an appeal. So an appeal was filed with the Ninth Circuit, so that they are they're trying to go ahead with this executive order. What do I think? I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think it's legal. I think that the government is really trying very hard to get all the way to the Supreme Court. And if the Supreme Court says that this is not legal, then the only other recourse is going to be to go to Congress, and Congress is going to have to change the Constitution. Is that an easy process? No, but it's possible. And the more momentum, um, the more anti-immigrant sentiment we have in this country, the more the chances that the Constitution can be amended. So I will keep you posted, but this is what's going on with that topic of birthright citizenship. Now, let's move to the next topic. The next topic is the amount of raids and deportations we are living in the United States at this very moment. Many people, I walk around, and many people, normally people who are not immigrants, they normally tell me, Katia, we're only deporting criminals. And that is not true. We're only deporting undocumented immigrants. And that is not true. We're only deporting people with criminal backgrounds. And that is also not true. The reality is that the government is doing raids, and it's planning on doing even more massive raids. And they don't care really if the person has criminal record or they don't. All they want is to add to the number of deportations as fast as they can. So they haven't been as successful as they thought they were going to be. The government thought that by now they would have had deported a lot more people. But what's going on? Well, what is going on is that immigrants like me and like you are more educated than ever, thanks to social media, thanks to a lot of immigration lawyers who are coming out to educate the community. So most immigrants now know that if they have never been deported and if they don't have criminal record, they have the right to see a judge. They have the right to deportation proceedings, which means you are not going to be detained. You're going to go home, and you're going to go through your deportation process from your house. So how do they know this? Because we've been training them that they have this right. They have a right to a deportation process. As long as they have more than 2 years in the United States, they have not committed a crime that subjects them to mandatory detention, and they have never been deported before. So if you have these three requirements, you will not be detained permanently. And what do you need to do? Well, what you need to do in case you encounter ICE or the FBI or the DEA or any federal law enforcement that will tell you that you're being detained for being an immigrant, the most important things you need to do are these. First, you give your name, because if you don't give your real name, then it'll be impossible to find you later if we want to help you. Number two, you remain silent. And you have to be respectful to the law enforcement officer. You have to be respectful to the ICE officer. But you respectfully can say, I will remain silent. It's not, I'm not going to talk, or no, I will remain silent. That's all you have to say. As long as you give your name, you have to remain silent. You can remain silent. The next thing you need to do is you need to make sure that you do not sign any document. Why? Because one of those documents could be your voluntary departure. And what is voluntary departure? Is when the immigrant himself or herself tells the government, please take me out. I don't want to see the judge. I don't want to go back home. I just want to go out to my home country. And that is something you should never, ever sign, because no matter what, you want to return to your house and prepare, even if everything goes wrong and you end up going to court and then you end up deported, at least you will have the time to sell your stuff, to make all the arrangements so that you can depart. So do not ever sign any voluntary departure. And the other thing you need to do is do not sign anything. You can ask to speak with a lawyer. Now, the officers do not have to provide you a lawyer. The lawyer will have to be, you will have to pay for the lawyer. They will allow you to make a phone call. When you are ready to make that phone call, you need to call the person that you know is going to answer the phone, which normally is a family member or the person that you love. Do not try to memorize the lawyer's phone number. Just memorize the phone number of the person you love. And that person will get a hold of the lawyer. Okay? Some ICE officers are going to tell you that you're going to be detained forever. Don't listen to any of it. That once the attorney starts working on your case, they will contact ICE. They will see if there is any chance for a bail amount so that you can leave the detention. If not, they will have to go to court and ask a judge for a bond determination, an amount of money that will assure the government that you're going to go to see the judge, that you won't disappear. Okay? So we are working on sharing the information to make sure nobody gets deported unless they have had already a deportation order, or they have been deported and returned, or they are subject to mandatory detention, in which case it doesn't mean that they're going to be deported immediately. No, they still have the right to see the judge, but they have to do it from inside the jail. Okay? Now, the latest news on the raids and the deportations is that the government is planning a massive operation in California. For they are planning on detaining more than 100,000 people. Sounds like an awful number, and I don't think they have the capacity to do it. But we'll see, right? In the meantime, we have to try to protect ourselves. And how did we protect the immigrant community from these massive raids? Well, we avoid places that are high risk. And what places are high risk? Normally, the places where the poor live, because our places where there is a high rate of crime. So if you are in any of those areas, please stay away from them. We avoid any contact with police. So um, we have to behave the best possible ways to avoid being in contact with the police, because if we are ever arrested, then we know that we're going to encounter ICE. And we need to remember what are our rights. Another thing we can do is we need to contact um, NGOs or non-for-profit organizations that help immigrants, or lawyers, to try to see if we can do family petitions, or if we have some alternative way to look for legal documents like U visa, VAWA, or T visa. So those are ways in which we really need to proactively work to change our legal status. Okay. Well, let's move on to the third news, number 3. Okay. Uh, in the past few days, we've been hearing a lot about these Guantanamo base, where they are now recruiting and immigrants from Venezuela who supposedly have committed crimes and are members of El Tren de Arauca, which is a criminal organization. Um, these persons are being transferred to this detention center in Cuba, where they are, as far as we know, they haven't been provided a regular process. They have not contacted lawyers, and we don't really know what type of criminal record they have. So the government is planning on sending more and more people to Guantanamo. They are saying that they're only sending people with criminal records, and the need to do that is because they're running out of bed capacity in the jails. So that's gonna bring me to two different things that are gonna happen. One is Guantanamo will be filled with immigrants, and then according to the types of crimes that they have, they will be transferred to their home countries if they don't owe anything to the government, or they may end up spending several months in detention until civil organizations and lawyers file lawsuits to really find out what is the status of their criminal records and if they are entitled to immigration judge and immigration court proceedings, immigration court process, deportation process. Also, these Guantanamo detention center shows us that the government does not have detention capacity. So what they're trying to do, they're trying to open military detention centers. In the military, they have jails, and right now they're asking the military to open these jails to immigrants so that they can so that they have more beds to house them until they deport them or until they have to do their court proceedings in immigration court. So that's that's their second option. Because they don't have detention capacity, some people who are being detained by ICE are being released. Yes, and first they told us that they were never going to release anybody, that we were all going to be arrested, detained, and deported. But then they realized that a lot of people were asking for the right to a deportation process. And if they have committed a crime, then they need to remain detained. And that means that they are not going to have, that they don't have enough beds. So when they encounter someone who has no criminal record, has never been deported, and the person has a family member that can potentially ask for an immigrant visa for them, or they have a U visa, T visa, or a VAWA case that has been approved, then ICE is allowing these people to return to their houses, and it's not even placing them in deportation proceedings. So that's the good news in the middle of all this mess. Some people are being released without putting them in deportation proceedings because the government realizes that no matter what they do, these people will not be deported. So, as you can see, not everything is dark, not everything is horrible, but in these difficult times, we need to start looking for the areas where we can improve, the areas where we can um, find peace, find the opportunity to um, help others. And this is one of the places where we can do that. So please, please, please help me share the information. These are difficult times for every immigrant community in the United States. And it doesn't matter if you're undocumented or you have an employment authorization or you're a green card holder. It doesn't matter. Right now, we are all at risk. And that's why we need to protect each other and protect ourselves by obtaining lots of information and, most importantly, consulting with a lawyer that could let us know if there is anything we can do to improve our current legal status. Okay, so this was the first video of Immigration USA with Kathia. I hope that you learned something new today, and I look forward to doing more and more of these videos in English. Thank you.